year doesn't always have to mean a new man, but a good New Year's resolution for the man in your life should be better hygiene. Get him the best electric trimmer in men's grooming with Manscaped's Lawnmower 4.0. The Lawnmower 4.0 is here to take down every pube in his path with their advanced skin-safe technology. Talk about a movement I can get behind. Manscaped has also developed a complete hygiene bundle, the Performance Package 4.0, or as I like to call it, the perfect package for his perfect package. How about if your man has wild, and not our kind of wild, but wild nose and ear hairs? Manscaped has you covered. Their Weed Whacker will change the game for whacking the worst weeds. Get 20% off and free shipping with code ROCKY at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code ROCKY. The new year is here. Upgrade your man with Manscaped. And Happy New Year to his balls. I got to celebrate two pretty special birthdays this weekend. My bestie Natalie, you know her, you love her from just a mere 100 episodes ago, episode 5, and my dad, who you know from my many mentions of him. I feel so lucky to have both these gem of human beings in my life and thought I'd share a story that, well, it reminds me of both of them. It's a Sunday morning and your girl wakes up in Central Harlem. Rocky Powell woke up on Adam Clayton Powell and 142nd, and it was a rough night. The night before, I had split 3 bottles of rosé with 2 of my girlfriends and then switched to tequila shots and Cabernet, which is unwise if you're regular and on par if you're wild. When I woke up, I was at a man's apartment. Not a stranger per se. I knew him. I mean, I didn't know him like his hopes and dreams and stuff, but he wasn't a new member of the roster, you dig? You dig. You're already at the Earth's core, you dig so hard. Am I the flower girl? And is it your job to clean up after me because you are picking up what I'm putting down? When I left his apartment, I remember thinking 3 things. 1, damn. A proper 1-bedroom that he has to himself that smells like good cologne and has a matching couch set. The only thing missing is my feminine touch, honey. Let's be roommates, the fun kind. Number 2, his bathroom looks exactly, and I mean exactly, like my grandmother's bathroom. We've heard of hand twins, but bathroom twins, this is huge news, and I had to tell her. And number 3, holy shit, I need to leave immediately. I'm going to throw up violently and fast. You must learn your own lessons about what alcohols to mix together, but I can't urge you enough to not mix tequila and red wine. You won't win. I had to get out of his house because I had to get to my friend Katie's house because we booked a wine and cheese class with Natalie. Yes, we're cultured. Sundays are for the boys. And by the boys, I mean the girls. The girls continuing to get drunk from the night before, just in a classier way. At this time, Cardi B was new and the world was our oyster. Pandemics weren't even on the radar. And pandemics, by the way, are like so annoying if you hadn't heard. What's also annoying is trying to get from Central Harlem to Gowanus, Brooklyn. I won't sugarcoat it. It was hell. I had a book bag on me with all my things in it because I had planned for a sleepover already, but I didn't plan for a sleepover at his house, so it just worked out conveniently. And this book bag was heavy. And my makeup was stale and crusty. And my mouth was rumbling like a waterfall ready to explode. Waterfalls explode or volcanoes explode. It was like a volcanic waterfall in my mouth. You get it. It was checkout time for my insides. When I stepped outside to the cruel light of day, foot to the pavement, I looked up and I saw a Dunkin' Donuts. I really didn't want to puke inside a Dunkin' Donuts. but I was also really in danger of vomiting on myself. The good news is there was no obstacle getting into this Dunkin' Donuts bathroom, but the bad news was there was no obstacle getting into this Dunkin' Donuts bathroom, meaning it looked like a lot of people had had my same idea that morning and maybe mornings before. I took my queasy ass right the fuck out of there. I couldn't do it. I make it down the stairs of the subway and I think, wow, I'm gonna become one with this subway garbage can. This trash bucket is my church this morning. Is this a rite of passage or a new low? I look up from the garbage can, which I was firmly grasping onto. Another voice in my gut said, look up, and I did. And I see a girl I know, not a close friend. I couldn't text her, but we were friends on Facebook. You know what type of friend I'm talking about. She didn't see me, but I now have to hold it in again. This was the worst. I had about an hour before getting to Gowanus, and I was going through a minefield of challenges. I moved away from the garbage, and I got on the train. I put on a meditation, I closed my eyes, and I did some deep breaths like I was going into labor for an hour straight. When I got to Katie's, I was able to revive myself with a clean bathroom, a mimosa, a toilet fresh for my guts, and a healthy brunch snack she homemade me. I was back. I was ready to go meet Natalie at a Mexican restaurant before our wine and cheese class because, baby, we've been burned before and we weren't going into this class hungry. Not us. Bring on those margaritas. What I have to say about the wine and cheese class is we were the loudest people in there. Oops. We were able to get extra wine because we were the loudest people in there. Oops, oops. And people are really into cheese. In fact, people are so into cheese that there's a name for them. They're called curd nerds. Oops, oops, oops. But also, curd nerds is kind of cute. At this point in my life, I may not have been a curd nerd, but I was really into psychics, which I always write as physics. And I guess some people could argue maybe they're the same thing. And what's more embarrassing, being a curd nerd or being addicted to going to psychics? But psychics were really getting me through some bullshit in my life. Natalie and Katie were not as into the psychic thing at the time. Perhaps they were in a more emotionally stable place, but I was not. So my treat, ladies, you get a free psychic reading. Was our psychic wrong about, I don't know, everything? Yeah, she was. But this was almost 5 years ago, and there's still time for that stuff she made up to come true. After our bullshit readings, we were hungry again. And since we've explored Mexico and Cheese Island, now it's time to hit up Japan for some sushi. We go in, and the laughs kept coming like they always do with these two. And right before that moment where we either get another round of drinks or get the check, I said, you know what? I'm going to have another glass of wine. Something just told me to. And halfway through that glass of wine, Natalie says, oh my God, hey! I turn around, and there was none other than Howard Powell, my dad, strolling into this random sushi joint in the village like he owned the place. Now, he doesn't have a GPS, and he doesn't fuck with smartphones, so I don't know how he got a parking space or how he found us. He was coming up from down south visiting some family, so maybe my mom keyed him in with the tracker, but whatever it was pretty cool. He picked up our check, and then he drove the three of us home, a very welcomed surprise at the end of a drunk Sunday. That day was a whirlwind of third base, extreme stamina, puke, and laughs with some of my absolute favorite people. Katie, of course, and the birthday icons themselves, Natalie and my dad. I love that I got to celebrate both of you this weekend, and I'd do it again.
Time for
the
Welcome to the Rocky Rundown, where you get to learn a little bit about my week. Party God Squad, hello. Did you have a good week? Are you still saying Happy New Year, or have you gotten to the phase where you say, can you believe we're already halfway through January? Me, I could care less about what side of the year we're on. I care about the sunset and the sunset only. Every day it's the same thing. Hey Siri, What time is the sunset? And every day it's 1 minute later. Thank God. I live for the sun being out at 8:30 p.m., so I am dragging ass through this winter. I want to bounce from scene to scene in a tank top, giving nothing but main character energy with a recurring character budget. Bring back the sun. As much as I love warm weather, I am also loving my Drake phase. And if you don't know what my Drake phase means, and you're chomping at the bit for me to define it for you, well, my Drake phase means I only love my bed and my mama. I'm sorry. Yes, I am wild. Yes, I am free. But I'm also absolutely loving being low-key. Observing the antics of my peers from the sidelines with my money staying firmly in the bank. Being a voyeur of life can make you rich. And back to Drake for a sec. A lot of people think I only like Drake because he's mixed and not because of his music and lyrics and face. The truth is, can it be both? A lot of my love for him is bias. Yes, it does have to do with his mixedness. Yes, sue me. I was randomly thinking, who do I like more? Eminem, regular white, or Drake, mixed as hell? And then I realized I didn't ever have to pick. I could just love them both. You may be thinking, where does Eminem fit into this equation? Well, eggs are crazy expensive right now, and I found some good ones for $5.99, and my brain said, this opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better buy the eggs. I'll stop there. Some songs, even 18 years later, still hit, even if they're just a celebration of egg prices now. At brunch on Saturday, there was a DJ, and the DJ was only playing late 90s, early 2000s hip-hop. The only way a brunch should go down, frankly, and we got kicked out of brunch. Yes, it's true. Apparently, there was a time limit on our table, and we were exceeding it. I'm sorry. I didn't know this was metered parking, bro. And we were still ordering drinks. I get it, you need the table, but also, I don't get it. How do you not tell people right away when they sit down that this table has a time limit? Can you really even enforce that? Well, they did. They did enforce it. After brunch, I needed some rolling papers, as one does, and I was having an existential crisis in the bodega. I wanted rolling papers, but I didn't want ones that came in a plastic container, and I didn't want cones, and I was already stoned when I walked in, and the guy kept bending down to get the papers, and it was this whole ordeal. It was such an ordeal that my girlfriends who were waiting outside for me came in, and as they did, the clerk taking care of Rolling Paper Gate 2023 blurts out, I have mushrooms for sale. Sir, what? Listen, yes, I love mushrooms. But where did that come from, huh? We were talking about eco-friendly rolling papers, my guy. What the fuck? I look at my friends and I say, I know it seems like this is what we were in here talking about, and that's on brand for me, but I don't know where his outburst just came from. Frankly, I was more offended that the mushroom dealer didn't immediately pick up that I was a psilocybin enthusiast myself, and he didn't lead with that. In conclusion, we did not buy his over-the-counter mushrooms from him, but I did buy rolling papers that were too long, I forgot filters, and it was snowing when we came outside. And that's what happens when you kick bitches out of brunch. That brings us to Rocky's highest thoughts, my most stoned thoughts of the week. Number 1, can you believe the power of flight was invented? Number 2, why aren't we doing more to cover up dogs' dicks? Number 3, Milk just one day said, Oreo is our favorite cookie. But maybe Milk is a fucking narcissist and is just trying to make the other cookies jealous. And number 4, if you throw a penny in a wishing well, and your wish is to own all the change that's already in the wishing well, so you go inside and you fish it all out, but then you get stopped in your tracks and you're told to put that money back. So you explain to them, but it's my wish to have all the money in the wishing well. They still tell you to put the money back. Are they telling you to put the money back because you're stealing from the wishing well? Or because you said your wish out loud? My guest this week is friend and comedian Christine Piñeiro. Christine's wild word was empowerment, and if this story doesn't make you feel invincible, then you simply weren't listening, baby. If you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You can follow me at Wild Nights with Rocky on TikTok and Instagram, at Wild Nights Pod on Twitter. If you want to watch extended interviews with all of my guests, please subscribe on YouTube. And if you want to support the show with your wallet, you can join my Patreon for a mere $2 or $5 a month. A big thank you and a future thank you to everyone who's written and everyone who will write a review when this episode is over. It really does make a difference. And now, please enjoy my Wild Nights conversation with Christine Piñeiro. Christine, welcome. Thank you for doing the podcast.
Hi, Rocky. Happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. This is very exciting to me because you and I are friends outside of podcast world for many, many years.
Yes. Oh my God, like over a decade, like a decade.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, you're my girl.
That's wild to think about.
It is well. I feel very blessed that you're in my life.
I feel the same. And I'm also very lucky that I've said where I live on here multiple times, but I will not give the longitude, latitude of your place, but we are neighbors and we have like very nice neighborhood strolls where we just talk about everyone. No.
It's really nice. We talk about everyone. We talk about our lives.
Our lives. We are not talking about you guys listening. Sorry.
Sorry about it. You wish, audience.
You wish. It's not happening. And I want to be corny, but like I haven't seen you since last year.
That's right.
That's right.
But we have talked. We've texted.
We have texted. Yes.
We have. Yeah. Stayed in touch. Yeah.
Sent the occasional voice mem. We're big voice memoers.
I love your voice memos. They're fun. I'm like, yeah, come over. When are you coming over?
Coming over. You're a hostess with the mostest, and you have a backyard, which is a perk. It was a perk during COVID too.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it was such a blessing during COVID to be able to go out into the backyard
and just
with our pod. Yeah, we even watched movies outside with a projector. We had a grill. We laid out in the sun. Very lucky. Oh
yeah. Well, one of the things I wanted to say that I've really loved about the evolution of our friendship is our relationship to improv.
Yes.
Because we met in the improv community and we watched each other grow so much in the improv world. And I feel like, not to get a little inside baseball, which I tend to do sometimes on this show, especially when speaking to improvisers, but one of the things, it can be prideful in the beginning to have your friends be your coach. So improv teams need a coach so they can work out reps, because people often say, how do you practice improv? You practice improv by practicing doing improv. And I know back in the day, it used to be kind of like, well, they can't be my coach because they're my friend. But in present day, I champion for improvisers that I know to be my coach on the teams I'm on, because I know the people that have been putting in their 10,000 hours. And I really enjoyed having you as my most recent improv coach. I felt like me and my team had a lot to learn from you.
Oh, thank you, Rocky. That is so true, because coming up, it was a little taboo for that, because it was a little like, oh, is this going to be comfortable? I think I've had a lot of friends who've coached me in improv. So I'm an improv teacher and coach as well as a performer. And I've always found that to be the safest environment, because your friends want to make sure you're safe and they take your needs into consideration. So thank you so much for saying that. I hear what you're saying. I love your team is clutch.
Oh yeah, I know.
So
I hope
good.
we stay together. If we don't, it's okay. We had a great run, but it would be nice to stay together in the new season. We'll find out next week.
Your team performs at the Armory. Armory Comedy. Yeah. What's their team name?
Our team name was Accidental FaceTime, because our first group chat together, somebody accidentally FaceTimed the entire group. So we named our team. That's the history behind the name. But one of the other really cool things, especially with female improvisers, is going back and doing improv as long as we've done it, at as many different theaters as we've done it. There were a lot of women coming up when we were coming up that were so good.
Yes.
And would really let us come into our power and show us, like, shine on stage. Don't hide. It's a male dominated sport. and you can really thrive in it. I would say a lot of the improv teachers that were female identifying that we had coming up gave us a lot of our empowerment.
Yes, they did. Ashley Ward, actually, when she was leaving the pit, she's a wonderful teacher and performer. She passed the baton on to me. She literally said, "I pass this on to you,"
Wow,
because I was
that's
saying goodbye to
powerful.
her. It was powerful. I was just starting to teach at that time, and I was like, "I'm gonna really miss you. You mean so much to me," because she would invite us on her show, like our
Yeah,
improv teams. She
yeah,
had a show at the pit called Taco Supreme.
yes,
It was her and a bunch of other female performers who were top of the top, cream of the crop of the day.
yeah.
And they would invite like our improv teams. We were new and up and coming, and they would
Mhm.
have us open for them. And then people like Natasha Rothwell as well, who coached some of us.
Yes, yes, I was
Um,
coached by Natasha. I love to name
definitely don't.
drop her every time I see her on
Me
television. Like
too.
watching White Lotus, I was like, no big deal, but Natasha was my improv coach. But
They
yeah,
definitely bestowed a lot of empowerment onto us. I remember one particular note Natasha gave me when I was new performing with my indie team. She said, "You play a lot of high status all the time, Christine.
mhm,
What's that about? Like, I think we can, be malleable and maybe try some other things." And then I looked at her, I'm like, "Oh my God, I know why. Because I feel low status in real life. So when I go
mhm,
on stage, I project what I want to be."
yeah.
How interesting is improv is like therapy sometimes.
It really is. It really is. And we're grateful to those women before us who gave us that empowerment. And empowerment
Ah,
also happens to be Christine's wild word. So, Christine, can you please take us into your wild night story, empowerment?
yes. You might have to bleep out some names.
Yeah, you'll just tell me. We'll bleep it out. I have my pen
Um,
ready for the bleep marker.
they don't have to be bleeped out, but I think it would be funny if they were. But this story of empowerment is a very sex positive story.
Okay, we love sex
Um,
positive.
we love sex positive.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a story about deciding I want this and I'm gonna get it, and then I did
Mm-hmm.
because of the choice, and then getting into that vibration allows you to open up and receive that. Um, so let me ask you something, Rocky. What's the
Please.
most attractive accent, in
Most
your opinion?
attractive what?
Accent, in your opinion?
Uh, New York.
New York, interesting.
Yeah.
Not Spanish, Italian,
Uh,
French.
I really like a New York accent, and I love a Boston accent as well. That would be my second favorite.
You know what? That is your type. That is your type. Like you need to date a guy who's like sort of New York, or like, Ma,
Yeah,
where's Patricia,
yeah.
Charlene?
I think that's
Um,
being from Connecticut. I'm right in the middle of both. Like I'm New England, like born and bred, and then my heart is in New York. So it's like New York is my top accent, and then a New England boy is my New England, Boston, any of those kind of
oh
like
my God, like a
yeah,
Chris Evans. What if I
yeah.
said to you one of the sexiest accents, Australian, New Zealand?
Oh,
What would you
yeah.
say?
I would say that I once slept with a man who did a New Zealand accent all night. But you remember the con artist that
Oh
I went, yeah,
shit.
he did a New Zealand accent all night. So, I'm partial to those as well.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. This might be trigger
No,
warning.
I'm fine. Pull the trigger, baby. Let's do it.
Well, what's better than Australian accent and three Australian accents in your bed?
Oh,
Let that sink in.
okay.
Let that
Yes.
sink in.
3 Australian accents in your bed. Okay, keep
Well, I
going.
will say two Australian accents, one New Zealand in your bed.
Let's
But
be
for the
clear.
joke,
Let's
three Australian sounded better.
got it. It sounds
Uh-uh.
better. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was picture this 2017.
Okay.
I'm outside Barcelona bar,
Love it.
Columbus Circle.
Hmm.
And at the time, I'm not really a smoker, but at that time, I would have like a drink or two, and then I'd want to smoke a cigarette to
Yeah.
intensify that high, that feel.
Yeah.
So I was, doing one of these outside. All of a sudden, this blonde, blue-eyed man approaches me, and all I could hear is "got a lie." And New Zealand, young hot man, like what struck me was the glistening sweat on his pectorials.
Oh,
Um,
in the
yeah, he had
evening.
on It was an evening indeed. He had
Yeah.
on like a fitted tank top. He was serving surfer vibes. He had blonde, messy hair, the
Yeah.
baseball cap, this big, beautiful smile. And I look at him, I don't say a word. I take out my lighter and I just light his cigarette.
No, that's cool. Very cool. Very smooth.
It's very sexy, very
Yeah,
sexy.
very
Uh,
sexy.
so we just continued to have this really fun, flirty conversation. And I remember in my head, I was like, I'm gonna fuck this guy.
Hmm.
We're gonna have sex,
When you
but
know,
not
you know.
tonight. Wait, exactly. When you know, you know. Except I was like, not tonight. I got work in the morning, so maybe
Yeah.
tomorrow. But anyway, as we're talking, he invited me out with his mates. I said, I can't tonight, but what about tomorrow? So he says, yes, meet us at this bar tomorrow night. So I'm like, great. Next day, I've already, visualized what I wanted, what I was
Yeah.
going to go for. And so I go to this bar and I see my friend Bethany, who's bartending there.
Hmm.
So I'm like, oh, how cool. I get to, hey, Bethany, how are you?
Yeah.
She goes, oh my God, what are you doing here, girl? And I'm like, I'm here to see this guy.
Yeah. I know what bar you were at too.
And I'm here to see this guy. She goes, oh, you mean that guy over there with his two friends? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. She goes, oh, they're fun. Good, enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I walk over, introduce myself, I sit down, and let me tell you, um, it was like a beefy, like Australian buffet, and I was starving. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was like one of them looked like, and they were quite, so I was 33 or 34, and they were 26, 23, 28, younger
Oh,
than me.
oh my God.
Um,
The
and there was,
stamina.
yeah, there was the 26-year-old looked like a young Russell Crowe.
Okay.
28-year-old was like an Australian army veteran.
Uh-huh.
And then we had the 23-year-old New Zealand guy. You can those were their names.
Okay.
You can bleep those.
Bleep the names.
Uh,
Got it.
you don't have to, but you can.
Okay.
We follow each other on Instagram. Sometimes
Okay.
one of them checks my stories quite often. It's kind of funny.
I bet it.
Yeah, how did you know?
I'm just good like that.
You are so good. Well, I have nicknames for them. Like, I call the Australian one like the commander, just because he was very mature.
Got it.
Then the other one that looked like young Russell Crowe, and then the surfer dude. Like that's what I have names for them.
Hmm.
And they were so funny, and we had a really great conversation, and we were just vibing. All three
Yeah.
of us were just vibing.
Let me
At
stop
one
you right
point,
there. I want to ask,
yeah,
there was women's intuition? I'm very big on women's intuition and following it. There was no part of you that was like, something's up. You felt the good vibes from them. You felt
I
safe.
felt so safe with them. Yes, I'm
Perfect.
really glad you mentioned that. I felt so safe with them.
Yeah. Okay. That's it.
Um, yeah, so they were like, "Do you guys want to go to this other bar and we can like play darts or whatever?"
Hmm.
And I was like, "Yeah." They were so down to earth.
Hmm.
There wasn't a lot of flirting. It was just a lot of not yet.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was just like a lot of laughing. We were drinking beers. We were getting to know each other. We were talking about, our respective countries and things like that and what we were up to. So it was really, really fun.
Yeah.
We established a very healthy like acquaintance vibe. And
Hmm.
so we went back to Barcelona bar
Hmm.
and where Eladia Baldwin was born. Just kidding.
Yeah.
And then we were there, and Bethany had said, she goes, I will meet you guys there. And I'm like, great. Which is
Yeah.
another smart thing is you have a friend come along so you're not alone.
Right.
So we're at this bar, and it started vibe started to pick up a little bit. It got a little flirty with each of them.
Yeah.
So at one point I'm playing dots with young Russell Crowe
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
dots.
He's a Russell Crowe
And
lookalike, but you said you were
so
playing
we're playing
darts,
darts.
right? Yeah.
We're playing darts, and it's
Hmm.
getting a little steamy. So he comes over to me and he goes, "You want to play a game?" And I'm like, "Sure." And he's like, "Okay, if I hit a certain number, what do you wager? A kiss?" And but I didn't, inside I was like,
Yeah.
but
Cool,
poker
calm,
face,
collected. Hmm.
calm, collected. I was like, okay. And if I miss this bullseye, you get a kiss.
She's smooth people.
Um, so yeah, so I went, aimed at the bullseye.
Yeah.
Whoops, missed it. And so, we kissed, but it escalated from a kiss to a touch, a whisper in the ear.
Yeah.
It was a very sexy game of bats.
Yeah.
And then I found myself moving over to a tabletop, where the commander was sitting.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have a conversation with him, and I would flirt with him, and I would also like feel these vibes. And he was like the most reserved of the group,
Okay.
but still fun. But I think because he's older and he was just
Mm-hmm.
kind of with his mates and kind
Yeah.
of like, who's this woman that's just like giving us vibes?
Yeah.
And I would go up to the restroom, run into Surfer Dude,
Okay.
push him into the bathroom, and then make out with him profusely.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I can't choose who I want. I kind of want all three, but I don't, is
Yeah.
this possible?
Yeah.
So I walk out of the bathroom and I walk over to Bethany and she's kind of watching. She goes, having fun. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yes, bitch, I'm having fun. And I'm like, Bethany, I don't know what to do. I was like, I want to fuck them all. Who do I choose? And she
Yeah.
goes, honey, you don't have to. Why don't you take all three? And I went, you know what they say, aim high,
Yeah.
go big or go home. So I had
Shoot
made a
for the
decision.
stars, and then maybe if you, or no, shoot for the moon. If you miss,
And
maybe
if you miss,
you'll
you get
land
a
a.
foursome.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
you get a foursome. Shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you get a foursome. um, so yeah, I was like, okay, Bethany, I think I'm gonna go for this. And she goes, oh my God, have fun. Call me
Yeah.
later. Like, let
Yeah.
me know
Yeah.
how it goes. So, conveniently, all three of them are at the same table, kind of chatting to themselves. And I
Yeah.
walk over to them and I'm like, so where are you staying? And they were like, Wellington Hotel
Ooh.
on 57th and 8th. And I was like, let's go. Literally all I had to say, we all leave together. We go back to their hotel room. Okay.
Yeah.
And so we get there, and apparently they were sharing a room with like other people. And when we walk in, I'm like, oh, okay, there are other people here. Well, we need to ask them to leave.
Yeah.
And it was just like, I guess maybe two or three of their other mates. And one of them was like, can we stay and watch? And I was like, no, get out of here. And so they leave. And when I tell you, clothes went flying,
Yeah.
I literally felt like a piece of chocolate cake.
Really?
Decadent. Yes, eaten. Just like I was the conductor and this was my orchestra. I
Wow.
had one guy down there, one guy in a breast, one guy making out with me. It was really like I I kind of dictated the mood. I was, kind of like, here's what I want. It was a conversation. It was like a collaboration, to be honest with you. And we were
Yeah.
all having like a really great time. And at one point, I was like, touch each other's dicks, and look at each other, think about it, start laughing, and they go, no.
Okay. So they have boundaries. We
They
respect
do
a king with boundaries.
yes, they have boundaries. And so we were like having a great time. I'm just like, wow, I'm really in control in
Mhm.
this moment.
Yeah.
And I felt very safe with him because you do have to be careful because it could have been an ID discovery moment. Thank
Yeah.
God it wasn't. It was
Yeah.
because I really listened to my intuition. I also had a friend who was kind of observing
Yeah.
throughout the night. So I played it smart.
Hmm.
Um, so then, whenever you're in a threesome or foursome, it's more than one person, you have a favorite. Let's be
Hmm.
honest.
Hmm.
And it's awkward. It can be a bit awkward.
Yeah.
Um, so at one point I was like, I want you two to leave and I want you to stay. So who do you think I asked to stay?
All right. I really want to think about this one. Okay. So let me go through. We have the commander, we have Russell Crowe, and we have, don't tell me, commander, Russell Crowe, and the surfer.
Yes.
Okay. So those are our three main characters besides our leading lady. I I'm going to pick Russell Crowe, and I'll tell you why. I'm picking Russell Crowe because you told me the flirt. You two kind of were the two that started flirting, and I don't know if they're, besides hooking up itself, one of the best pre-hookups is like being at a bar with a guy. You're like flirting, and you can kind of feel their like stubble while you're whispering in each other's ears, and just like that
Yeah.
whole lead up. So that is why I think you picked Russell Crowe from the lead up.
Okay.
I'm
Believe it
wrong.
or not.
More Russell Crowe for me.
Okay, yeah. Guess again.
The commander.
Yeah, tell us
Okay.
why. Tell the audience why.
Maybe because the commander was giving you the least at the bar. So he's
He was
playing hardest to get.
mysterious. You know what? You got a point there. Unconsciously, you're probably right. I didn't like him the most. He was the quietest, the most mysterious, and the most mature.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. I think that's part of it.
But what was your
Um,
reason why?
well, because of he was mysterious, he was
Okay.
the most mature,
Gotcha.
and I felt like, man, I want to rip this guy apart a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Not rip him apart like murder him, but
But
oh
oh
God,
no,
that
we
sounds
know what you mean. Yeah.
like ravish him, like
Yeah.
ravish him. Because I had big clit energy.
Yeah.
Okay, I had big clit energy.
Henna.
Um, mhm. So I asked the other two to leave, and
How do
they
you do
did.
that? How do you say that? They're in the middle of
I
sucking on titties and in between your legs. How do you say, boys, it's been fun, but how does, I need those words.
said, I literally was like, I want you two to leave, and I want you to stay. Um, and they were like, okay, if we leave and we come back, will we have it turned? I said, maybe. And they were like, okay, we'll leave. We
Okay.
literally just complied with whatever I said.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, I wasn't making like I was a very you know what though, they're not in the room. I can't share their side of this story, but
Yeah.
it was cool. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think they trusted me and they were like, we're gonna just listen to the woman and what she
Yeah.
says because we respect her.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I went with them.
Yeah.
Why I wanted to
They
go
respected you from the jump.
110%.
Mm-hmm.
Which at the end of this, there is an ironic twist.
Okay.
It has to come at the end, and you're going to be very surprised.
Okay.
But anyway, so it was an amazing experience. I had 3 accents coming at me at once. Their bodies were so beautiful and
Mm-hmm.
proper fit. They had
Yeah.
proper fit bodies.
Proper fit. Yeah.
I felt like I looked like a painting. There is a real painting. It's called The Cursed Woman.
Oh, I've seen it.
The Damned. You've seen it?
Yeah, and
By
then I see the
Octave Tarat.
caption on. Yeah, the caption under is like she looks like she's doing fine.
It's a Renaissance painting with a woman. She's naked. There's a man down there, a man on her breast, a man in her mouth, and it was painted by Nicolas Francois Octave Tarat. My pronunciation is terrible, and I apologize.
It's okay.
For our French listeners.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, so they leave, and it's just me and the commander, and we just like have full on, sexy like sex.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he was, I think, oh my God, we do have to bleep this part out. He, my first uncircumcised.
Oh.
And I mean, maybe not bleep it out. I don't know. But I was just surprised. I've never seen that
You
before.
didn't say anything negative. Yeah, it can be jarring.
I was like,
on first watch. Yeah.
Where's your cat? Yeah.
It's okay. Like there's nothing wrong with them. They're great too.
Still
but
beautiful.
When
Still beautiful.
You go
still
through
wonderful.
life never seeing them, and then you're encountered with one. You might say to yourself, "I don't know if I was mature enough for that," but now maybe it's a badge into womanhood.
I'm very happy with myself. I was mature for it. In my mind, I was very surprised. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bring it on, baby.
Bring
on the uncut gems.
Exactly. So that happened, and I had a good time. I'll speak for myself. I had a good time. And then the other two came back, but at that moment, I was feeling a little weird. I was like, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
I remember saying, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
Literally saying those words. And then young Russell Crowe type was like, it's not fair. You said that we get a turn. And the commander goes, nar. She said nar. And then he's like, help her gather her things. And so all 3 men are picking up my clothes and shoes and handing it to me, helping me get dressed. And the surfer guy looks at me with a large smile and he goes, oh, cool. Had fun tonight. And the commander jumps in the shower. The other one, so I had a man. kind of stick up for me and defend me and keep me
Yeah.
safe in a moment where one of them was like, "What about me?" And he's like, "She doesn't owe you anything, dude. She said no. She's tired. Let
Yeah.
us escort her out of here."
Yeah.
And I wouldn't, which is amazing. I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe he felt commander. I'll speak for the commander.
Yeah.
I wonder if he felt a little weird too. He's like, "This is very weird." I mean, I think it's very common to feel weird in those situations.
Yeah.
Um, mm-hmm.
And he also might have been, you know, you can't help but think, even if they're three buds, even if, there's no, who knows if this has happened to them before? Probably not. So this seems like a very lotto moment for them. But uh you also chose the commander over the other two. And so
Yeah.
maybe he felt kind of like, hey man, like she made a decision that she wanted to sleep with only one of us,
Yes. Yep.
further take it to the next level,
Yeah.
and we did that, and you're not gonna like come and outshine me, you're not gonna like come behind me and think you can do better. She's satisfied, bro, back off. You know what I mean? It could have been a factor of things, and he could just be a good guy who's like, no means no.
Yeah, I think it felt more like no means no, and
Yeah,
let's respect this person,
and that's why he
which
got the name the
is
commander.
yes, because he had mature, and then he's just like,
Yeah.
you know, this could be an issue. God forbid if something went wrong, they would
Yeah.
be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
So, don't take a chance on that.
Yeah.
Um, I would say overall, I had a really fun night. Like the
Yeah.
night ended at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
I did feel empowered. I felt empowered because, my energy dictated the night basically. I was
Yeah.
like, hey, how do you guys feel about this? Great, let's go do this. I want
Yeah.
this and I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah.
When you have that sort of confidence and by the way, they could have said no. They could have been like, no, thank you, not tonight.
Yeah.
The fact that I even asked for what I wanted and had the confidence to do it was very empowering.
Yeah.
Feel like you could do anything, and I do want to. It could be in any situation. It doesn't have to mean like having foursome with
Yeah.
three hot strangers you met at a
Yeah.
bar one time.
Yeah.
It could be, asking for that raise. It could be holding a boundary against,
Mhm.
like telling a family member, "This is my boundary. We no
Yeah.
longer see each other anymore." So,
Yeah.
I want to empower people of all shades, of all genders, to know that their wants and needs are valid,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
within reason. Like that, it must be like as long as it doesn't hurt other
No
people.
harm to others, but
No harm
you
to
can ask for
others.
what you want. Dude, a closed mouth don't get fed, and that's the bottom line.
Ask and thou shalt receive.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And that's,
Yeah.
Rockrinthians 3:14. Or
I want that Bible.
Chris Rinthians too.
Perseverance.
We're starting a church. No, it is true though. You do have to ask for what you want.
It's like, if I were to give it a thesis statement, it's the decision to be powerful, the
Yeah.
decision without feeling bad about it.
Yeah. And I'm proud of you. Would you say that it felt very natural, the foursome? Very
Yes.
Grecian, like old-timey Grecian. This comes
Yes.
more naturally because we don't really see, unless you're seeking it out on, porn websites or movies like
You,
that. You don't really see people in movies and TV having threesomes and foursomes. It's kind of
I
like
have
this
to,
thing on the
that's
side.
true. And everyone's different. From my experience, we laughed a lot. We had
Yeah.
like a good time. We had fun. It was like we were talking, we
Hmm.
were having fun. I got to, I had two dicks in my hand, one dick in my mouth. It was amazing. Oh
Yeah,
my God, I hope
yeah.
my family does not see this, but like, or
But it's
hear
okay
this.
if they do, because you're allowed to have two dicks. If it's all consensual and you're happy, you're allowed to have two dicks in your hand and one in your mouth. That's okay.
And their bodies be banging. They were
Their
so
bodies be
beautiful. It just
banging.
felt so nice to like, I'm gonna touch this gorgeous, like 26-year-old, like hot like
Yeah.
body.
And the
And then
stamina.
feel them, all of their hands on
Yeah.
me. It felt really good.
Good, good. I'm glad you had that experience. And I'm glad you talked about that experience too, because I do think that sometimes experiences like that can be a little bit more taboo. And it's like, hey, guess what? We're programmed to really like to fuck. So let's talk about it. It's
Yes,
okay to
it
talk about it.
was, oh my God, amen. And there are
Mhm.
like four consensual, that's the word, right?
Yeah.
Adults.
Yeah.
And then, and you can be, see, this is another thing I want to preface this for people listening
Yeah.
to say that I changed my mind. After a while, I didn't want to do it anymore. And you know what? People had to respect that. It's my
Yeah.
body.
Yeah. 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 So
And
that's
if they
good.
said to me, and I have to respect them, if they said to me, I want to stop, I'm uncomfortable, I too have to respect that. It's
Right.
not double standard here.
No, it's just about respect and consent. And if people just heard those words and really went with it, everybody could have a lot more fun. Respect,
Yeah.
consent, and boundaries could make the world, I mean, not to write We Are the World too, but it's like could make the world a better place.
Yeah, and just make sure that that is so funny, a good point. And just make sure you're safe. Like,
Yeah.
Bethany knew where I was. You text your friends, I'm going to be at this
Yeah.
place with these people, give them the names. And
Yeah.
if you're really smart about it, give them a number. Like,
Yeah.
get that person's number, and just in case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just in case.
There it's hard to date anywhere, and it's hard to date in NYC because New York is such a hub for international travel, and that doesn't necessarily mean domestic and international travel. When it comes to people come in and out, and people are up to shady things. So follow your instincts as well.
Yes.
Christine, I want to thank you for sharing that story. It was so sexy, so juicy, so good,
Was
and
sexy and juicy.
you come out you come out from experience like that a more layered woman, and a more layered
Yes.
woman only benefits the rest of the world. But another way, and we talked about this a little bit in the beginning, and I'll let you decide where you want to go first because you have a couple balls in the air right now. No pun intended. Christine's specialty, having balls in the air.
Thank you.
You are working on a couple different projects right now. So why don't people can
Yes.
start following along that journey because it's really exciting stuff. Why don't you tell us what are some of the things you are working on right now we can look forward to?
Thank you so much. So I'm currently on a podcast called Sounds Funny Radio,
Uh-huh.
and we form improvisation. We get suggestions from people who call in around the United States, around the world, and we just improvise.
Uh-huh.
It's really fun. So we have a show coming up on January 25th at the People's Improv Theater. Check out the website www.thepit-nyc.com for that. I also perform first Saturday of every month with the Baldwins at the People's Improv Theater, Saturday, 7:30. And on my Instagram, I have this really fun thing that I do. It's called No Taste Notes, Just Vibes, where I taste an array of wines, whiskeys, and bourbons. And I give no taste notes. I just tell you what the vibe is.
Yeah.
So,
Could you
yeah.
give everybody I want to go back to Sounds Funny Radio, but will you give everybody an example of what No Taste Notes Just Vibes is? So you're having
Yes.
give us a little example.
So, for example, I might try a whiskey. Let's say it's Four Roses whiskey. I'll say, this is Four Roses. Oh my God, Four Roses whiskey. I take a sip and I say, I smell it. It's giving Shonda Rhimes vibes. It's giving two war correspondents, fucking and sucking in the middle of a war in Bosnia vibes. It's giving, so I just give what's the feel? If I sip this drink, what journey am I going to be taken on?
I love that. I love that. Now, jumping back to Sounds Funny Radio a little bit, our friends in the podcast game, because I've also had past guests. Sunny has been on, Florence has been on, both of them are on Sounds Funny Radio. Most podcasts are people talking about a subject. A lot of people are coming on and telling stories. It could be a rewatch of a TV show. But what's cool about Sounds Funny Radio is it's incorporating improv into podcasts, which there's only a handful of podcasts that do that.
Yeah. It's not storytelling, but the comedy scenes that we do kind of take you on a journey, and it's really funny. Characters that are transpired by the suggestion that we get.
Yeah.
And we do play a couple of games, improv games, on the podcast as well. So
and the callers
it's kind of like a show.
Yeah, the callers that come in, it gives me like old time radio vibes. Is that the
Yes, it is like a old time radio show.
Oh, and Langston is on it too. We have to give Langston a shout out.
And Brad Stewart.
Brad always figures out a way to get shouted out on this show. He
He always
does.
gets a shout out
No,
on the
no,
show.
Brad comes up a lot though because I'll see him at the gym, and I think me and Florence talked about him too because I like see him at the gym and see him whenever, and he's Brad. We love Brad.
We all have the same friend. We're all the same friends group. Oh
Yes,
my God.
yeah.
Can I speak English today? So it's a, oh yeah. So the Sounds Funny Radio, it puts a comedic spin on your radio dial. That
Hmm.
is the pitch there. Just kidding, not the pitch, but kind
The
of
premise.
the premise. Thank you.
Now, when you're doing it live, is it people? I have to come see it live, but when you do it live, are there multiple mics on stage? Does it look like old timey
Yes.
radio vibes?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes. And then they play somebody calls, they play that, and we get the suggestion from the caller, and we have a live audience, and then we
Mhm.
just take it from there. It's so much fun. I'm really, really enjoying it.
Good, good. Yeah, you sound like you're enjoying it. Now, Christine, is there anything else you want to promote, talk about, cover before we hop off the horn here?
Thank you, Rocky. You're a wonderful host.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for
You're a wonderful
giving us
guest.
your time. Anything I want to promote? So it's January. Unsolicited advice. Take care of yourselves. Give
Yeah,
yourselves grace. You don't have to put a lot of pressure on yourselves to achieve your goals. Just take baby steps. Do it one thing at a time.
one
You'll
foot in front
eventually
of the
get there.
other. Hmm.
Take time to rest. And here's what I tell my classes. Like, at the end of each class, I tell them, like, say something that you're proud of yourself for doing. So what I want to impart onto people, what do you call Wild Nights with Rocky Gang? What do you call
The
your
Party God Squad.
I want to impart this on the party god squad. Ew.
You
Is at the end of the day, just say to yourself, what am I proud of myself for? Could be anything at all. Waking
know.
up, drinking
Yeah,
that coffee.
yeah.
Yeah. I just want to extend my gratitude to you and to everybody listening.
Oh, well, thank you, Christine. I love you so much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate
I
you
love you.
sharing such a wild and vulnerable and exciting and sexy story because that was
Yeah.
truly some wild nights gold. So I appreciate you. You're the second episode of the new season. So that's kicking it off with a bang, baby. And I can't thank you enough. Tell everybody where they can follow you so they can find out about your classes, Sounds Funny Radio, any projects you have coming up.
Awesome. Thank you. You can follow me on Instagram at Christine Piñeiro. Last name is spelled ChristinePieiro. P as in Peter, baby.
P as in Peter. P as in Peter.
Ah!
I made a little finger penis with my finger, everybody who's listening, not watching. Christine, I love you. I hope to see you
Love
soon.
you.
And thank you so much for doing the show. We'll talk soon, okay?
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.